Hey, I'm Stephen Lewis. Let's talk week 4 in the NFL. Whether you're just throwing down some money to win and do a little sports gambling on one of the many betting apps out there, or you're watching for fun, or you've got fantasy football happening. I know a lot of us do, so let's get into this. Started on Thursday night where my beloved Cincinnati Bengals pick up a win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags gave them all they could handle, but Cincinnati comes out of it 3-1. I am not 100% sold on how good the Bengals are this year because it is early, and it was the Jacksonville Jaguars. However, one of those 3 wins is on the road against Pittsburgh, and no matter what, that always feels good. All right, let's set my Cincinnati bias over here, and let's get into this week's matchup, starting with the Panthers and Cowboys. Sam Darnold is having a resurgence for Carolina, but I think that Cowboy defense is going to be a little too much for him to get past this weekend. Despite Sam playing well, he doesn't have Christian McCaffrey, which is going to be a huge blow to that offense. And if you've got Dak Prescott on your fantasy team, you're extremely happy because Prescott is getting it done, and so are the Cowboys for the most part. They'll come in there and most likely get the win in what will probably be a good game, but I give the edge 27-20 in favor of the Cowboys, and me not being a Cowboys fan, that is just painful for me to have to admit, but it is reality. Let's talk Browns-Vikings. A lot of hype around the Browns. Division-winning hype, playoff-winning hype, maybe even Super Bowl-winning hype, and for good reason. They're a talented squad on both sides of the ball. If they can get it together, they are just this side of dangerous. Going into Minnesota to take on one of the most overpaid, overrated quarterbacks in the NFL, being Kirk Cousins. But can't fault the guy, man. His agent got him a deal. He got paid, and I'm not going to fault anybody for getting their money. I would love to have a piece of that. Needless to say, Vikings can be dangerous as well. They got some weapons on the offense, and they're solid on defense. It could be a close battle. I like to give the edge to the Browns. I think they're going to go in there and get the win and disappoint Vikings fans yet again. So we shall see on Sunday at 1. From 2 teams with a lot of hype around them to 2 teams with a lot of, are you kidding me, around them, the Bears and the hapless Detroit Lions. Now, worked in Michigan for a lot of years, so I got nothing but love for Lions fans and nothing but love for that franchise. Unfortunately, as a fan, it sometimes can be very painful to watch. They're scrappy. They've been in it to win it for the last couple of games. They lost a game last week on a 66-yard record-breaking field goal, which is a lot to stomach. This go-around, they go up against the Chicago Bears team that just has no real identity. The fans want Justin Fields to start, but we all saw how that's gone in 2 straight outings. A little bit different in the pros than it is in college, Mr. Fields. Possibly something there in the future, but I don't think he's going to thrive in Matt Nagy's system. Andy Dalton, who was playing a pretty solid game before he got injured, he looks to be like the starter, even though it's a game-time decision. You've also got Super Bowl quarterback Nick Foles on the roster, and Foles, I think, is one of those guys who plays well in a system. He didn't have a good run in Jacksonville. Granted, it is Jacksonville, but this go-around, I do think those scrappy Lions are just scrappy enough to come away with a win and leave the Chicago Bears feeling even more hapless, if that is at all possible. From one dumpster fire to another, the Houston Texans, who many believe are the dumpster fire of the league this year, they will take on a team who is anything but in the Buffalo Bills. Texans have their issues at quarterbacks. Mills gets the start. Tyrod Taylor is still injured, and Deshaun Watson not even being activated, and we all know why without getting into that. They do have Brandon Cooks on the offensive side of the ball for Houston, and he's dangerous at the wide receiver position. If you got him on your fantasy team, give him the start. He'll get some points for you for sure, but that Houston Texans defense isn't even close to what it used to be. Taking on a Bills team led by Josh Allen, who has Super Bowl aspirations of their own. They are every bit legit. They will put up some points, and I think you're going to get the Bills with an easy win, 31-10 over those hapless Texans this weekend. Onward to the Indianapolis Colts, taking on the Miami Dolphins. Now, even though the Dolphins will be without Tua, there were a lot of people who predict the Dolphins were going to win the NFC East, or at least be competitive with Buffalo this year. I think that division is still Buffalo's, but Miami could put up a fight. Jacoby Brissett, former Colts quarterback, is going to get the start this week against his old team. The Colts just look lifeless. They're supposed to be stronger on defense than they are. Taylor's a pretty good running back, but Carson Wentz missed a lot of time in preseason, missed a lot of time with injuries. He looked like he could barely walk last week when he was playing. I don't know if they can keep him upright to use the weapons that he does have. That offensive line is suspect, and I look for the Colts to go into Miami and come away 0-4. Close game, but I give the edge to the Dolphins 17-14 over the lifeless Indianapolis Colts. If I'd have told you the Chiefs were going to start the season 2-1, you'd probably say I'm crazy, but they are sitting at 2-1, getting ready to take on an Eagles team who is still trying to figure out who they are. They are by no means the class of the NFC East. I think they're going to struggle. Jalen Hurts could end up being a pretty decent quarterback, but it's going to take some time for that to develop, and Philadelphia just hasn't been able to put it together this year. The Chiefs are coming off a loss. I think they've got revenge on their mind. Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey will most likely light it up, despite the Chiefs' defense being suspect. They're going to walk in and get themselves an easy win to get back on track this week. So put all your money on the Kansas City Chiefs. Giants, Saints. Giants are a team that, man, it feels like they are on the cusp. Danny Dimes can play some quarterback. He's not as bad as everybody expected him to be when they drafted him so high, but they're going against the Saints, who are at home. I really feel like this is a toss-up. The Giants are in it to win it. Saquon Barkley is averaging the same amount of carries he did his rookie season, so that's a good sign for them. Jameis Winston, you never know what you're going to get, but they are playing in the friendly confines of the Superdome in New Orleans, so therefore I would give the edge to the home team just for the fact that they are the home team, but don't throw a lot of money on that one because it, my friends, could go either way. Titans, Jets, and it's only going to go one way with Derrick Henry and that Titans offense running all over the Jets. The Jets play tough, and they try to be in it to win it, but unfortunately, they just don't have what it takes against a team in Tennessee that is predicted to do some good things this year. Now, the Titans will be without Julio Jones and Brown, but I don't think they need them against the Jets this week. Easy win for the Titans. If you're in a survivor pool, that might be the one that you throw your money on because the Titans are probably going to hang tough this week. The Washington football team, who they say is really close to figuring out what their actual name is going to be, taking on the Atlanta Falcons, who year in and year out look good on paper, but it just doesn't translate into wins on the field. Matty Ice, while he's got some entertaining commercials going on with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Ice-T, he is not quite getting it done on the field. He's actually having one of the worst years he's had so far. If you have him on your fantasy team, you probably know all about that and then some. Falcons lost some pieces on the offseason. Haven't been able to recover yet. Washington shows signs of life here and there, and they do have Chase Young on the defensive side of the ball, and he is every bit all-world. So I think the Washington football team is going to come away with a close 24-24 win over the Falcons this Sunday. Off to the AFC West, which is arguably one of the toughest divisions in football this year. Two unbeatens going head-to-head. The Cardinals at the Rams, and man, Matthew Stafford is every bit getting it done this year in Los Angeles under Sean McVay. He's finally found a coach that can really let him cut loose and use all of the abilities that he has. I love what they're doing in Arizona, though. I think Cliff Kingsbury has a pretty good offense when it comes to Kyler Murray, who has done nothing but get better over the last couple of years. But I think the difference is going to be that Rams defense with Aaron Darnold and all those guys. They are just every bit monstrous on that side of the ball. I think they give Kyler Murray fits, and I think the Rams walk out of this one 4-0 against a very solid Arizona Cardinals football team. Staying in the same division, Seahawks, 49ers, let Russell cook, but Russell doesn't quite have the ingredients that he's had the last couple of years, which I think it makes it a little harder for him to cook. That defense is okay. They're not the Legion of Boom of old, and I think the 49ers, they've got some issues too. They don't know what they want to do at quarterback. They stay in with Jimmy G. They give in the rookie Trey Lance a run. I don't know. I think this is a close game. I think it's a toss-up. It's one that I wouldn't put a lot of money on because it could go either way. In my head, I think the Seahawks get the win, but 49ers might have home field advantage, and they could come away. Either way, I think it's going to be a lot closer than we think. I'll go ahead and say Seahawks get the win, but I wouldn't bank on it. Tough AFC matchup, the Ravens at the Broncos. I'm happy for Teddy Bridgewater. I hated to see that leg injury a few years back. It's good to see that he's kind of finally found a little bit of a home in Denver, even if he is a placeholder for Aaron Rodgers next year. Don't hold me to that. I'm just saying it could happen. Bridgewater and the Broncos really getting things done on the offensive side of the ball, and that defense is playing well as well. So I think that's going to give the Ravens some fits. They do have Justin Tucker, who kicked a 66-yard record-setting field goal last week. Not sure if he'll get there again this week. You have Lamar Jackson, so the Ravens always have a chance. I think this one, too, is going to be a shootout. I'll give the Broncos the home field advantage and say 23-20 in the end, but I think it's definitely going to be a close game and another one that if I put money on, I'm not banking on it. This one, you can definitely bank on. Two classic football franchises going head-to-head. Steelers rolling the Green Bay to take on the Packers. The Steelers Black and yellow fans, I'm sorry, you're having a down year, whether you want to believe it or not. Big Ben can't move. He's old. They probably should have moved on, but they didn't. They kept their loyalty with Big Ben, and it's probably going to cost them this year. That offense doesn't look that great. Defense, it's suspect at best against a Packer team with Aaron Rodgers, who, even though he is a head case, has something to prove. The Packers are in a win-now year because, let's be honest, Rodgers is probably gone next year, and they moved the ball last week in San Francisco when they needed to. They've got a decent field goal kicker. Their defense is okay, and I think at home against a worn-down, beaten-up Pittsburgh Steelers team, I think the Packers get a very easy win on Sunday afternoon. Arguably the game of the week, and it's on a Sunday night. Tampa Tom is coming back to New England to take on the Patriots. And it's not the Patriots of old. Belichick will come up with a pretty good plan, but I think Mac Jones is going to struggle against a pretty solid Buccaneer defense. So they're returning Super Bowl champions for a reason. They are a little bit banged up. They signed Richard Sherman. That should be interesting to see how it plays out. Gronk will not play. They'll get Antonio Brown back, and between him and Godwin and the rest of that Buccaneer offense, I think Tampa Tom is going to return to New England and walk away with a win, because I don't see a world in which the New England Patriots will come away with a win over this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. So throw some money on the Bucs. They are going to get it done on. And finally, we wind it down on Monday night with an AFC West battle between the Raiders and the Chargers. The Raiders 3-0. A lot of people don't think they should be, but Carr, he's been getting it done. Now, he's on a streak where he's been thrown for at least 325 yards a game for a while. I do think that ends against this Charger defense because they are pretty good. And Justin Herbert, a lot of people call him a young Dan Marino and say he's got all the tools. This is another one where it could go right down the middle. I wouldn't put a ton of money on this. Those AFC West teams always tend to play each other tough. It is Monday night. Chargers might get the home field advantage. I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders walk out of there with a win, but I also wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers are just able to hold them off. Either way, I think this is going to be a close scoring game. We're looking at 21-24, something along those lines when it's all said and done, and toss up on who wins this one. Either way, best of luck on the gridiron or the fantasy gridiron, whether you're spending some money and trying to make a little bit or you're just watching for fun. Either way, go get them and enjoy your Sunday.
Total disbelief.